We're diving down demonology. Demonology aren't just about horror films. They're ancient, intelligent, and far more organized than most governments. From blood rituals forgotten on the corners of the web to sacred symbols etched in the temples of modern culture, these things hide in plain sight. The ziggurats, Tower of Babel, weren't just structures. They were gateways, portals into the unknown, men reaching into spiritual realm without permission. A group of fallen angels, watchers, descended to the earth, not to protect, but to corrupt. They took for themselves human wives, taught forbidden knowledge, sorcery, weapons, and blood rituals. Their offspring were giants, and when those giants died, their spirits had no rest. They became disembodied, the unclean, what we now call demons. It was rebellion, one that shattered heaven and stained the earth. It's the forgotten history of spiritual war. In ancient Greece, daemons weren't evil. They were seen as spiritual guides, messengers between gods and men. Socrates claimed he had one that whispered to him often. But when Rome took over, everything changed. They absorbed Greek beliefs, repackaged them.
Of Greco-Buddhism in Central Asia, one of the Greco-Bactrian kings, Menander, actually converted to Buddhism. And so the Buddhas that were carved, so they're carving statues of the Buddha and stuff, but it's in this total Greco-Roman style. So they're beautiful pieces of art. And it's literally a Greek Buddha.
That's so strange, because it's so obviously like influenced by Greek art.
Yeah, the folds in the robe and all that, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Rome couldn't stop Christianity, so they hijacked it. They wrapped it in gold, rituals, and politics, then filtered the truth. They decided what stayed in the Bible and what got burned. Books like Enoch, gone. Teachings about fallen angels, the Nephilim, buried. What was the goal? Control. Not faith, not freedom, but control.
Have you ever wondered why the Anunnaki are not mentioned in the Bible? The Anunnaki are known as ancient deities from Mesopotamian mythology, who supposedly created humans. However, there is no mention of them in the Bible. Some scholars believe that the reason the Anunnaki were not...
Solomon wasn't just wise. He was said to have spiritual authority that shook the unseen realm. Texts like the Lesser Key of Solomon claim he summoned and bound demons by name. And these aren't forgotten fairy tales. Real occultists still use them today. We're talking about names, ranks, rituals, and commands. Demons don't move recklessly. They move like a unit. There's an order, rank, strategy at the top. There are 4 kings under Satan, each commanding legions. Below them, principalities, generals, foot soldiers. This isn't random. It's an organized spiritual warfare, and most people don't even see it. Zimmernar is rarely mentioned. Zimmernar is said to be the most hidden and powerful of the 4 kings. His role is often associated with secrecy, darkness, and commanding legions in the shadows. He operates from the north, the direction of judgment and mystery. Gap, king of the south. Gap is a high-ranking demon, president and prince who controls 66 legions. Known for his ability to influence emotions, move people instantly from place to place, and teach philosophy and liberal sciences. He is a deceiver, often using intellect to twist the truth. Corson, King of the West. Corson rules over Western Quadrant, often connected with manipulation and illusions. He governs spirits and tempts through wealth, vanity, and false beauty, drawing people in with charm before corrupting them to the core. Amaymon, King of the East. Amaymon is said to be one of the most dangerous of the four, known for overseeing demons tied to wrath, pride, and violent possessions. Many old texts warn that when summoning demons ruled by Amaymon, one must take extreme caution or risk death. Now we're about to dive into names you probably heard, and some you definitely haven't. Each of these could be an hour-long breakdown on their own. But in this video, we're just scratching the surface. Stay locked in, because it gets darker from here.
The Lesser Key of Solomon is said to contain spells and rituals for summoning and commanding these otherworldly beings. The Grimoire is divided into 5 books, each with its own focus on different aspects of magic. One of the most infamous sections is the Ars Goetia, which details the rituals for summoning demons. These demons, according to the legend, were bound by King Solomon to serve him, providing assistance and knowledge. However, the consequences of invoking these entities are said to be severe, often leading to misfortune or even danger for the summoner. As the story goes, the Lesser Key of Solomon was lost and hidden for centuries, only resurfacing in medieval times. Its dark reputation grew as it became associated with occult practices and forbidden knowledge. Many stories circulate about those who sought its power, facing dire consequences or madness. Despite its mystical allure, the true existence of the Lesser Key of Solomon remains a mystery, blurring the lines between myth and reality.
The Lesser Key of Solomon is a collective of 66 demons.
It's a spell book.
Oh, it's a grimoire.
Yeah, I know exactly
so
what it
you're
is.
familiar with it.
Oh,
Are
very
you familiar with this?
I'm not, no.
I'm going to say this as a cautionary tale to anybody listening to the show right now. If you're dabbling into the arts, if you are bringing any type of grimoire or text into your home, you are pretty much automatically opening yourself up for any type of crazy shit that's going to happen to you.
Fair enough.
And I say that entirely because I have a copy of the Lesser Key of Solomon in my house.
How to use the Book of Solomon, but know this, some knowledge should stay locked. The Book of Solomon, also known as the Lesser Key, isn't just a collection of spells. It's a manual for summoning demons, binding spirits, and commanding things not meant to be named. It was never meant for casual hands. Even Solomon, they say, feared what he had written. The original texts describe how King Solomon used rings, symbols, and divine names to command 72 spirits. Not banish them, command them. These weren't minor ghosts or whispering shadows. They were kings of hell, architects of chaos, lords of forbidden knowledge. The book teaches how to call them. It even dares to tell you what they look like. Some appear with lion heads and serpents for limbs. Others come in clouds of fire or dripping from the ceiling like smoke. But the most dangerous ones are the ones that look human. Each demon has a seal, a specific mark that must be drawn exactly, without error. One wrong curve, one unfinished line, and you don't summon them. You invite them, and they come without chains. Those who use the Book of Solomon today often claim nothing happens. That's the trick. The oldest spirits don't show up in candlelight. They arrive in dreams, in strange thoughts, in slow changes to the people around you. They unmake you from the inside out. Solomon may have survived his encounters, but no one really knows what it cost him. Some versions of the legend say he died in torment, unable to sleep, unable to speak, because the voices never left. So if you ever come across the seals, the names, or the rituals, ask yourself, are you the master, or just the next name in the margins?
The Key of Solomon is one of the strongest magic books of all time. Let me explain. The Key of Solomon is a grimoire that is divided into 2 separate books. The first book describes how you can use evocations, invocations, and curses. It also talks about summoning the spirits of the dead and demons and how you can control them and make them do your bidding. Interestingly, you can also find instructions on how to become invisible, find stolen items, and also find love. The second book talks about exorcisms, how to properly use magical equipments, and how to sacrifice animals for the spirits. The book also states that all the power that is needed to perform all of the rituals and evocations comes from God. Interestingly, even though the book is attributed to King Solomon, it was written between the 14th and 15th century CE.
The human DNA, the Goetian demons.
The which demons?
The 72 Goetian demons, if you
Could you
want to
explain what they are?
Yeah. They would be the princes and dukes of hell. What we would call hell. Hell, the actual word hell would be H is a gate. The letter H is the letter H is a gate. And ELL was Elohim, and that would be the fallen angels. So the gates of the fallen. Okay, so that's where they hang out, and they are very, very powerful, but they want to come up here and feel what we feel, because they can't feel what we feel. They can't feel what it feels like when you put some milk and sugar into your cup of tea and sip it. They can't feel that feeling. And they can't feel the feeling when you lust after that girl that you looked down the street at. They can't feel that.
What if I told you there's a demon that could teleport you across the world? The demon Gayap has secrets you never imagined. Revered by some, feared by many, Gap is a master of astral travel. With the power to control time and space, he moves effortlessly between realms. Legend holds that Gap can reveal the hidden knowledge of other dimensions. Yet he demands the price of loyalty. Summoning Garp is not for the faint-hearted. Rituals involve complex incantations and symbols, each designed to bend the will of cosmic forces. But beware, those who seek his counsel often find more than they bargained for. Gap's secrets leave a summoner forever changed. So are you ready to delve into the abyss? Tread carefully, for the dark secrets of Gap are not easily contained.
Choronzon is a powerful demon often depicted as a shape-shifting entity with no fixed form, allowing it to manifest in various terrifying ways to instill fear and confusion. Its powers include manipulation of illusions, mind control, and the ability to disrupt spiritual and magical practices. Often serving as a guardian of the abyss in occult traditions, Choronzon is known to challenge seekers of enlightenment, testing their resolve and purity of intent. Its primary weapon is deception, using psychological warfare to break the will of its opponents and trap them in a labyrinth of their own fears and doubts. Its enemies are typically those who seek to transcend the material plane, such as mystics, magicians, and spiritual warriors who must confront and overcome Choronzon to achieve higher states of consciousness.
Ameimon's many aspects. Part 1. Ameimon. Ameimon is known to be one of the 9 demonic gatekeepers. He has also been referred to as an infernal prince. According to some, he is the only one who can hold power over Asmodeus. Ameimon is king of the east, and some debate, coming from the Abramelin text, places him in the south. He is lord of the Black Pyramid, demon of the Black Sun. Some demonologists have stated that he is a darker manifestation of Lucifer, and even Amon. Others trace him back all the way to ancient Egypt, being an ancient Egyptian devil, the Black Sun. Ameimon is known to be he who breathes the venomous breath. He is the lord of the censer and the incense. Ameimon is both draconian and serpentine in nature. He teaches us how to wield the powers of darkness and light, but he is the dark hidden core within the Black Sun, emanates the light from the darkness, and vice versa. Ameimon is he who dwells in the Black Pyramid. He is the dragon's eye. He reveals the greatest of mystery.
Have you ever wondered why you procrastinate so much? Why laziness sometimes dominates your will? Perhaps it's not your fault. Perhaps it's Belphegor, the demon of sloth. In demonology, Belphegor is the master of the most subtle temptations. He doesn't need violence or chaos. He works slowly, like an invisible serpent, whispering promises of simple pleasures. His power? A paralysis of the will. Belphegor offers the comfort of inertia. He hides behind the screens you can't stop staring at, in the dreams you postpone, in the tasks you put off.
He is the demon who turns potential into waste, desire into apathy. Make no mistake, Belphegor is not merely a symbol of sloth. He is a force behind every moment you give up the fight, when you choose immediate pleasure over effort. He drains your ambition, feeding on every minute wasted. The next time you feel inclined to procrastinate, remember, it might not just be fatigue. It might be Belphegor, feeding on your weakness. Did you know that Lucifer is not the only ruler of hell? There are 7 princes, each associated with a deadly sin, and some of them are even more terrifying than Lucifer himself. This is Beelzebub, the demon of gluttony. Known as the Lord of the Flies, Beelzebub is not just a prince of hell, he is the master of unrestrained gluttony. His power? To transform a simple craving into a bottomless pit of obsession. In demonology, he is the one who devours and corrupts, feeding not only on food, but also on souls. He doesn't limit himself to hunger for food. He hides in every desire you can't control, in the endless pursuit of pleasures, in the insatiable consumption that is never enough. Every bite, every addiction, is an offering to his infernal appetite. Beelzebub not only corrupts the body, he consumes the soul. With every moment you give in to uncontrolled desire, he grows stronger. He doesn't need your worship, he feeds on your excess, on your inability to say enough.
Asmodeus, the sinner of lust. This can be seen as the most cruel and cunning prince in hell, representing the sin of lust, Asmodeus. Before his fall, Asmodeus was a powerful and beautiful angel. He was always kind and fair to everyone around. However, after his fall, he became a wicked entity. Craving and cruel, he rules the second layer of hell. If anyone dies due to sin or related to perverse lust, they will be sent to the second hell and condemned forever without salvation. Commanding 72 legions of demons of King Solomon, he is also the fear of those who try to resist him. Asmodeus is one of the 7 deadly sins symbolizing lust, the fear of nuns. In the Lesser Key of Solomon, he is described as a man with 3 heads. On the left is a bull, in the middle is a human head, and on the right is a sheep. With the feet of a duck and a snake's tail, fire-breathing, these heads symbolize revenge, lust, and temptation when summoned. If he wishes, he can transform into a very kind-hearted, charming, and cheerful man, riding a bone. Dragon, or a demon dragon, along with his powerful spear, Asmodeus is also a top player in hell, as there's a casino for demons down there. Some documents state that the angelic form of Asmodeus is Asmodine, the angel of April and patience, ruler of the Aries zodiac sign. Hell calls demonic hierarchies. In demonology, the hierarchy is a structured system of ranks that organizes demons by their levels of authority, power, and responsibilities. This hierarchy is often inspired by feudal and royal systems, with titles indicating a demon's influence and role within the underworld. Here is a breakdown of the ranks commonly found in demon hierarchies, especially as outlined in classic texts like the Ars Goetia. 1. Kings. The kings of hell are at the top of the demonic hierarchy, commanding vast legions and wielding immense power and knowledge. They are akin to monarchs in a royal court, overseeing other demons and maintaining order within the infernal realms. Kings like Paimon and Belial are known for their mastery of various arts, sciences, and forbidden knowledge.
In the dark, winding corridors of demonology, Astaroth's name resounds with chilling authority. He is known as the Great Duke of Hell, sitting at the highest ranks alongside Beelzebub and Lucifer, forming an unholy trinity of power. While the name echoes with the ancient feminine deity Astarte, Astaroth is a far cry from the goddess of love and fertility. This demon, with origins twisted by time, is a malevolent force feared by those who seek to understand the infernal realms. Astaroth's history is steeped in complexity. The name comes from the Phoenician goddess Astarte, an embodiment of Ishtar, the Babylonian deity of war and love. But this transformation from goddess to demon happened slowly, through centuries of misinterpretation and religious demonization. In the Hebrew Bible, the plural form Ashtaroth referred to multiple idols worshipped by the ancient people. eventually transmuted into a single male demon when translated into Greek and Latin texts. The male demon Astaroth first appeared in medieval grimoires like the Book of Abermillionwain, penned in the mid-15th century, cementing his place as a figure of immense power in occult circles. As time passed, Astaroth was linked with the darker elements of Kabbalistic teachings, ruling over the Qliphoth, or the evil forces that oppose the Sephiroth in the Tree of Life. His dominion, according to these texts, was over the Klippa of Jupiter, a malevolent force known as K'Ixchebla. In the late 16th century, Dutch demonologist Johan Weyer described Astaroth in terrifying detail. How to summon Astaroth, the spirit of forbidden knowledge and rotting glory. Astaroth is not a demon of screams and fire. He is the quiet prince who knows too much, the keeper of decayed wisdom, long-lost empires, and the sickly sweetness of power that lingers just a little too long. He does not rush. He waits for those desperate enough to ask the wrong question. To summon Astaroth is to seek answers that were never meant to be known, truths that poison more than they free. Perform the ritual at dusk, when the sky is neither day nor night. In a place where the air feels heavy, draw his sigil in charcoal on aged paper. Something yellowed, something forgotten. Surround it with offerings, a feather soaked in ink, a dead flower, and a whisper you've never spoken aloud to anyone. Say clearly, Astaroth, Prince of Truth, buried and power broken, I call not in fear but in hunger. Let what was sealed be opened. The air may turn foul, the shadows may stretch. You might feel a presence behind you, tall, still, and exhaling memory. Astaroth grants knowledge, not quickly, not cleanly, but precisely. You'll find yourself knowing things you never learned, seeing meanings in symbols, hearing patterns in chaos. But beware, knowledge has weight, and Astaroth does not carry it for you. He simply hands it over and watches what it does to you.
Moloch is a figure shrouded in darkness and controversy, known as the Great Prince of Hell. Moloch is often depicted as a fearsome entity demanding human sacrifices, particularly of children, in exchange for power and favor. This fallen angel holds a sinister position in the demonic hierarchy, embodying malevolence and temptation. Legends suggest that followers of Moloch engaged in ritualistic practices that struck fear into the hearts of many.
Moloch, an ancient Canaanite deity, is mainly associated with child sacrifice as depicted in the Bible, particularly in Leviticus. The extent of these sacrifices is debated among scholars. In literature, Moloch's image has evolved significantly. John Milton's Paradise Lost depicts Moloch as a fierce and warlike demon, emphasizing his destructive nature. Allen Ginsberg, in his poem Howl, uses Moloch metaphorically to critique the harms of industrialization and societal ills. This evolution from a religious icon to a literary and cultural symbol demonstrates Moloch's enduring impact. Moloch now represents the darker aspects of human societies, including the sacrifice of innocence and the pursuit of harmful communal goals. Thus, Moloch remains a potent symbol, embodying various forms of societal cruelty and moral decay.
Did you know that King James, the one behind the Bible translation, also wrote a book about demonology? Why? Because to him, spiritual warfare wasn't theory. It was a reality. Witchcraft, possessions, hauntings. He studied it. He named it. And he tried to warn us about it. The book was called Demonology, written in 1597. It wasn't fiction. It was a field guide. A king trying to expose what most people still ignore today. Think about that. On one side, he's given the world the Bible, the translation. On the other side, he's warning about real spiritual threats most churches won't touch or talk about today. He breaks down the types of spirits, the dangers of witchcraft, and how demonic influence works through people, places, and rituals. The devil teacheth his disciples by dreams. apparitions, and voices. King James wasn't vague. He believed the enemy trains through dreams, whispers, and spiritual encounters. Not all visions are from the one true God. Giveth them power to trouble men and women with terrible diseases and other mischiefs. He exposed how witches weren't just casting spells. They were making spiritual contracts, and the results? Sickness, torment, and destruction. These spirits conversed with them privately, even from their youth, to draw them into damnation. He warned about familiar spirits, demons who attach early, talk like friends, and slowly leads them into destruction. King James broke it down into 3 categories, 3 ways demonic spirits operate in the world. Spectra, spirit of appearance. These are spirits that appear as ghosts, phantoms, and even loved ones. They manifest through illusions and apparitions. But don't be fooled. It's never who it looks like to be. They are deceivers, using familiar faces. Obsession, mental, and emotional invasion. This is when the demon attacks the mind. Thoughts of suicide, rage, confusion. People feel tormented, haunted, and mentally drained. It's like someone else steering your emotions. Possession, full control of the body. Possession is extreme. When the body's hijacked, the voice changes, the eyes go blank. The demon doesn't just influence, it takes control. It takes over the soul. King James didn't write this as a fiction. He wrote this as a warning, a blueprint of how demons work, how they move, and how they manipulate. And most of the world still sleeps on it. It takes control. It takes over the soul. King James didn't write this as a fiction. He wrote this as a warning, a blueprint of how demons work, how they move, and how they manipulate. And most of the world still sleeps on it. Let's talk about magic. Real magic. Ritual magic. Spiritual contracts. There are 2 main categories, high magic and low magic, and both open doors you don't want to leave open. High magic is what the elites do. Secret societies, blood rituals, ancient names summoned and worshipped. This other stuff written in the book like the Lesser Keys of Solomon, the Book of Abramelin, and the Picatrix. It's about summoning, binding, and controlling spirits. Not through faith, but through force, through sacrifice. They use Latin incantations, planetary alignments, even bodily fluids to command demons.
The demon of greed. Originating from the Greek word for wealth, Mammon is more than a myth. He's a warning about the peril of material obsession. The Bible warns, you cannot serve both God and Mammon, spotlighting Mammon as a formidable force drawing humans away from spirituality. Throughout history, from medieval art to Renaissance paintings, Mammon is depicted as a corrupting power, seducing humanity with wealth. In demonology, Mammon ranks as Hell's ambassador to England, a symbol of excessive greed and unethical practices. His tale is a timeless caution against letting wealth overpower our ethical values. As we reflect on Mammon's influence, ask yourself, does wealth serve you, or do you serve wealth?
How to call upon Mammon, the spirit of wealth that consumes everything you love. Mammon isn't a spirit of gold. He is gold. He is the hunger behind it, the weight of coins pressed into shaking hands, the whisper behind greed that says, more. To summon Mammon is not to request riches. It is to offer your soul to the hunger for them. He does not come with violence. He comes with opportunity, success, influence, and then obsession. To call him You must fast for 24 hours, not just from food, but from spending, from asking, from wanting. Let the desire build. Let it ache. On the following night, gather currency from 3 different countries and burn a pinch of each over a black flame. Speak aloud. Mammon, gilded shadow, lord of all that glitters. If I am to carry your mark, weigh me with your blessing. Let my touch turn gain, my name turn gates. You may feel a warmth crawl up your spine, a heaviness in your jaw. Some say their palms tingle for days. Others begin to dream of vaults, towers, and empty thrones. Mammon brings wealth but not peace, power but not rest. He will fill your hands and hollow your heart. And in the end, you won't know where he stops, and you begin.
No matter how sacred that may sound, it always comes with a price. You don't borrow power from darkness without paying for it with your soul. Low magic is the stuff they normalize, such as hexes, love spells, protection jars, sigils, tarot, sage cleansing, and of course, the Ouija board. TikTok is full of it. It's marketed as empowerment, spiritually, self-love, but under that all, it's the same rebellion, the same spirit, the same demons. It may look harmless, feel trendy, but it still unlocks something ancient and something you can't control. Remember what we said about the Watchers. They didn't just corrupt bloodlines. They gave forbidden knowledge, spells, enchantments, spirit manipulation. That's where all this comes from. And the church, especially early on, knew this. That's why books like Demonology and early exorcist manuals were written. Not to entertain, but to warn. Let's take a look at this chart right here about the similarities between ancient rituals and modern day rituals. There's blood offerings and stone altars, chants to Sumerian, Hebrew, or Latin, summoning spirits using sigils and seals, carved symbols on parchment or skin, ceremonies conducted in caves, temples, or high places. And nowadays, these rituals can be done in the bedroom, on live streams, in music videos, and in movies. The early church didn't play around when it came to demons, especially the Byzantine monks. These weren't just men of prayer. They were warriors of light, of spirits, living in deserts, caves, and remote monasteries. Spiritual attacks were constant, and over time, they saw the pattern.
What ancient secrets did the Byzantine monks of Sicily hide in their manuscripts? Let's uncover the truth. During the Byzantine era, Sicily became a hub for Christian thought. But there's a hidden side to these manuscripts. Monks in places like the monastery of San Niccolò Larina didn't just copy Gospels, they preserved forbidden knowledge from pagan texts and Greek philosophers, risking their lives to keep this wisdom alive. Lesser-known fact, some manuscripts contained astrological and mystical writings, blending Christian teachings with ancient pagan beliefs. Were these monks preserving the faith or secretly rebels, keeping forbidden knowledge alive?
Why are these monks in complete isolation from the world? You have to understand something. When you want to become a monk, no one forces you to. They pray 24/7 and isolate themselves from the world on their own will. But some Christians wonder, is this really biblical? Didn't God say to spread the gospel and the word? When I say these monks pray 24/7, they pray for the world. They pray for all of us outside in society. They have took it upon themselves to do the hardest thing that a human can do. Leave their family, friends, and life behind to pray for us. A lot of you also say it's very dark that they keep the skulls of other monks when they pass away. there is intention behind keeping all their skulls. They don't just keep it and do rituals. It's a way to remind themselves constantly that life is coming to an end. This way, they don't dwell in anything here in society. And another question is, why aren't women allowed in Mount Athos? You have to understand that these monks live a very disciplined life. And God made women very beautiful. So in order to stay focused and disciplined and not to allow any lustful thoughts to come in or any desire to be there, women cannot enter this place. But women do have places in Greece, in Egypt, where they can see sisters and nuns.
In the Byzantine Empire, roughly 4th to 15th century, Christian monks recorded their encounters with unclean spirits. What they documented became a system. They had classes of demons, each with a method, a time of day, and a specific sin they tried to provoke. Morning spirits. They hit you first thing, flooding your mind with nonsense, worry, lust, planning for tomorrow instead of focusing on today's grace. Spirit of Arcadia. Feared by the monks the most, they said this one brought deep spiritual exhaustion. Makes you feel like prayer is pointless, life is meaningless, and time is crawling. Spirits of temptation. They creep in as the day winds down. Loneliness, lust, doubt, envy. The kind of thoughts that isolate you and chip away at your peace and your very soul. And now let's get down to one that we're all too familiar with. Midnight spirits. Spirits of terror. This is when they hit the hardest. Through sleep paralysis, nightmares, shadows in the room. The monks called it the hour of the wolf. They sleep with candles lit and scriptures on their lips. The monks faced spiritual attacks daily. They knew that the war wasn't just physical, it was psychological, emotional, and spiritual. If demons had a schedule back then, what makes us think they don't have a schedule now? The patterns are still here, the spirits are still moving, and the church today needs the same level of awareness they had centuries ago. The Byzantine monks didn't just observe when demons attacked, they started noticing how they operated. Through prayer and fasting and spiritual warfare, they recorded not just times of attack, but categories. What we now call archetypes. 6 core classes of demonic spirits that still show up in the world today. These are the puppet masters, the ones operating far above the physical realm, beyond space and time, influencing global systems, ancient bloodlines, and occult elites. They're obsessed with dominion and spiritual deception. Some believe these are the same beings called the Anunnaki, or ancient gods. They live in the second heaven, Paul's spiritual war zone. Spirits of the air. These are the whisperers, the ones that travel through thought, sound, and broadcast. Ephesians 2:2 calls them the prince of the power of the air. They infect media, music, and conversation. Ever wondered why so many attacks start in the mind? That's no coincidence. That's strategy. Terrestrial. These demons root themselves into geography, cities, ruins, neighborhoods. They cause division, bloodshed, territorial violence, and generational curses. You've heard of haunted houses, but what of cursed cities? Or generational strongholds that just won't break? Marine spirits. These spirits are seductive, operating through oceans, rivers, and dreams, found in myths of mermaids, sirens, and sea gods. But spiritually, they deal in lust, vanity, and twisted identity. Leviathan in scripture is often one of them, a spirit of pride that distorts truth. Subterranean. These are the gatekeepers of dark knowledge, dwelling in caves, catacombs, and underground systems, tied to witchcraft, sacrifice, and forbidden rituals. People seeking secret power often find these spirits waiting. Lucifergus. These hide in silence, in shame, in addiction. They can't stand the truth. They run when the light of Jesus is spoken. You'll find them hiding behind religion, buried in trauma, or fake healing. They operate in secret until they're exposed. The monks didn't just write this for themselves. They wrote this to warn us. Because the war has never ended. These archetypes, they're not ancient ideas. They're current threats. And they're still showing up, but labeled differently. Greek, Norse, Egyptian, Hindu, Native, and African. Every ancient mythology, no matter where it comes from, tells the same story. Divine rebellion, beings falling from the sky, hybrid offspring. They call it mythology. I call it memory. Spiritual history scattered across the world, written in stone, echoed in bloodlines, and twisted in legends. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki. The Greeks called them Titans. The Hebrews called them the Nephilim. The Hindus called them Devas and the Suras. And every culture has stories of sky gods, floods, judgments, giants, war in the heavens. These aren't parallels. They're patterns, they're blueprints. One source, with many masks. Why are these stories told in every corner of the earth? Why does every culture remember a fall from heaven, a forbidden union, a flood, and a coming war? Poseidon ruled the oceans, but he was more than a sea god. He controlled storms, floods, and even earthquakes. He was called the Earthshaker. Sailors feared him. Cities built temples to keep him calm. He fathered sea monsters, cyclops, and countless demigods. His anger could drown armies, and his silence even worse. Zeus sat on the throne of Olympus, armed with thunderbolts forged by the Cyclops. He overthrew his father, Kronos, to become king and lead the Olympians into a brutal war against the Titans. But he wasn't just ruler. He was known for seducing mortals, causing wars, and punishing rebellion with storms and fire. Born from Zeus's skull with a sword in hand, Athena was a goddess of wisdom, war, and crafts. She never married, never faltered. Patron of Athens, she taught strategy, discipline, and intellect. But she also turned her rivals into monsters, like Medusa. Her justice wasn't emotional. It was sharp, logical, and final. Hades ruled the underworld not as a devil, but as a warden. He kept the dead in place, enforced divine contracts, and rarely left his realm. Unlike the others, he wasn't chaotic, he was absolute. His symbols, keys, thrones, shadows weren't about evil. They were about control and death itself. Odin was a god of war, poetry, death, and prophecy. He gave up an eye to drink from the well of wisdom and hung himself on Yggdrasil, the world tree, for 9 days to unlock the ruins. He spoke with the dead, led warriors to Valhalla, and prepared earnestly for Ragnarok. He didn't seek peace. He prepared for the end. Thor was the protector of mankind, god of thunder and strength. He wielded a hammer so powerful it needed a special belt to control. He fought giants, battled serpents, and rode across the skies in a chariot pulled by goats. He wasn't subtle. He was raw, force, sent to break whatever threatened order. Loki, the trickster, was both god and giant. He caused chaos amongst the gods, fathered monstrous children, including the wolf Fenrir and the world serpent Jomagando, and was the master of disguise and manipulation. He helped the gods as often as he hurt them, but in the end, he turned on them and started the apocalypse. Freya was a goddess of love, frailty, death, and war. She practiced Theodore, Norse witchcraft, and led the slain warriors to her hall. She rode a chariot drawn by cats and wore a cloak of falcon feathers. Freya was born a healer and destroyer, fiercely independent, deeply spiritual, and feared even amongst the gods. Anubis, jackal-headed god of embalming and the dead, oversaw mummification and protected tombs. He guided souls through the afterlife, weighing their hearts against the father of Ma'at. If the heart was heavy with sin, it was fed to a demon. He didn't rule the dead. He judged their worth in silence. Osiris was the god of the afterlife, death, and resurrection. He was murdered by his brother Set, cut into pieces, and restored by Isis. He ruled the underworld as a green-skinned, mummified king. He symbolized rebirth, but his power came through ritual, restoration, and ancient laws of the dead, necromancy. Isis was the goddess of healing, protection, and powerful magic. She resurrected Osiris and raised Horus, guarding him from Seth's wrath. She was worshipped across Egypt and Rome. So influential, her cult survived long after the gods faded. Ra was the sun god, traveling the sky in a golden boat by day, and battling the serpent of chaos, Apophis. Each night in the underworld, he was a life-giver, but also a warrior. Every sunrise was a victory, every sunset a warning that darkness never stopped trying. Son of Isis and Osiris, Horus was the falcon-headed god of kingship and the sky. He lost an eye battling Set, which became the famous Eye of Horus, a symbol of healing and protection. He ruled Egypt's throne and justified divine rights. Pharaohs claimed to be his living image. Set was the god of chaos, deserts, storms, and violence. He murdered Osiris, fought Horus for the throne, and was eventually cast out by the gods. He wasn't evil. He was imbalanced. He represented necessary chaos until it took too much. His power came through disruption. Enlil was a storm god, bringer of wind, weather, and divine law. He separated heaven from earth and carried out justice for the gods. He unleashed a great flood to punish mankind. Enlil's authority was cosmic. When he spoke, mountains shook and kings trembled. Goddess of love, sex, war, and power, Ishtar was unpredictable. She seduced, protected, and destroyed. Her temples included sacred prostitution, ecstatic worship, and gender-blending rites. She descended into the underworld and came back. Her worship was raw, beautiful, dangerous. Marduk became the chief god of Babylon after slaying the chaos dragon Tiamat and creating the world from her body. He organized the heavens, established laws, and demanded loyalty. He was a warrior and architect, central to Babylon's rise. His symbol? The serpent dragon and the spade. God of water, knowledge, magic, and creation, Enki crafted mankind from clay and gave forbidden wisdom. He saved humanity from the flood with a secret warning. He was clever, calm, and kind, but always one step ahead. His domain was the abyss. His symbols, serpents and flowing rivers. Brahma is called the creator of the universe. He sits on a lotus blooming from Vishnu's navel and speaks the world into existence. 4 heads, each facing a direction, symbolizing all-seeing knowledge. But even among Hindu followers, he's barely worshipped. Some say his pride distracted him from devotion. Vishnu is the preserver, a divine presence who incarnates when the world falls out of balance. As Krishna, he gave spiritual wisdom. As Rama, he led armies against darkness. He's calm, radiant, and beloved. But his peace often hides judgment. He returns when it's time to correct mankind. Birth divine, force. Shiva, the destroyer, dances in flames on corpse. Draped in ash, crowned with serpents, and seated in meditation on the burning ground. He destroys to rebuild. He's worshipped with devotion and fear. Life and death both follow him. In one hand, peace. In the other, obliteration. Kali is wrath incarnate. Her tongue drips blood. Dances on corpse wearing a necklace of skulls. She destroys demons. Yes, but she demands sacrifice. Her power is uncontrollable. Followers chant in frenzy, offering blood and devotion. She doesn't just defeat evil. She becomes it to conquer it. Pangu cracked the cosmic egg and created heaven and earth. His breath became the wind. His eyes, the sun and moon, and his body, the mountain and rivers. He gave himself completely to the world, but his story is rooted in sacrifice, not salvation. Creation came through death. Nuwa shaped humans from yellow clay and fixed the shattered sky with rainbow stones. She's seen as a mother, healer, and protector. Her myth is one of mercy, but also control. Where there is chaos, she forced order. Her strength came through shaping what already existed. The Jade Emperor rules all realms, heaven, earth, hell. God's answer to him. His court runs like a divine bureaucracy. He hears prayers, judges spirits, and issues heavenly laws. But he's distant. Sun, Wukong, the Monkey King, was born from stone, trained in magic, and defied heaven itself. He tore through the celestial realm, battled gods, and laughed at punishment. He was chained for 500 years, then found redemption. His journey? Ego, rebellion, and hand-earned humility. Nyame is the sky god, creator of sun, rain, and stars. He dwells above, unreachable, too holy for direct contact. People pray to him through lesser spirits and ancestors. His silence is sacred. Olodumare is the source of all life, beyond male and female, beyond form. He created the Orishas, who act on his behalf. He doesn't interfere directly. His power flows through intermediaries, rituals, and possessions. He is known, but rarely approached, alone. Anansi, the spider trickster, stole stories from the sky god and gave them to humans. He used the wit to outsmart the strong, turn chaos into lessons. He doesn't command worship. He earns attention through jokes, riddles, and lies. He teaches brutal truths. The Dagda was a father god, giant, jovial, and wise. His club could kill with one end and resurrect with the other. He carried a cauldron that never ran dry and a harp that changed seasons. His magic was an illusion. It was nature itself responding to him. Brigid was a goddess of healing, fire, fertility, and inspiration. She was honored by warriors and poets alike. Her flame never died. Her wells were sacred. In Christian times, she became a saint, but her essence stayed the same, nurturing and untouchable. The Morrigan was a phantom queen, goddess of war, prophecy, and death. He flew over battlefields as a crow, choosing who would live or die. She didn't fight, she foretold. Her power wasn't brute force, it was fate itself. She whispered doom, and it became truth. These so-called gods, Zeus, Marduk, Ra, Shiva, they didn't vanish, they didn't die. Their stories got rebranded. Their rituals evolved, but their spirit is still moving today. These weren't just myths passed down. They were real spiritual forces, fallen ones, principalities that fed on worship, and still do. From Babylon to now, it's the same deception, power, pride, and false light. These beings wore crowns that they never earned, and demanded worship that wasn't theirs to take. Don't just study the darkness, discern it, expose it. Don't just admire the story, test the spirit. The spiritual war is real, the deception is deep, and the truth is found in the Word. So stay sharp, stay grounded, stay in prayer, because in the end, it was never about the gods. It was always about allegiance and worship. So let's connect the dots. These ancient gods we just broke down don't disappear. They shifted. The names changed. The taxes changed. But the spirit behind them is still moving ever more today, especially in the times that we're living in. Demonology isn't a fantasy. It's a structure, an order. These beings are organized, ranked, and possession is their end goal. But influence becomes control. Obsession. It starts in the mind. Intrusive thoughts, dark, violent, lustful stuff that hits you out of nowhere. You're not just overthinking, you're under attack. That's the first knock on the door. Oppression. Now the pressure hits your life. Constant chaos. Your peace disappears. Dreams feel heavy. Sleep is war. You lose time. You argue with everyone. It's not bad luck. It's a storm with the spirit behind it. Physical suffering. Bruises, scratches, something holding you down at night. Feel it before you see it. And when you speak, your voice don't even sound like your own. These aren't symptoms. These are signatures. Infestation. Your house changes. Cold spots. Objects moving. Lights flickering. Pets staring at corners. Spirits don't just hunt. They inhabit. They attach to items and energy. Possession. This is where the spirit takes completely over. The body becomes a puppet. The soul is buried. What opens the door? A Ouija board, witchcraft, generational curses, willful sin. These aren't games. It's contracts. Subjugation. This is full surrender. People who give permission on purpose. Satanists, rituals, blood pacts. They don't resist the spirit. They serve it. And once that agreement is made, you're not the one calling the shots. They are. Ancient spirits are still active today. New names, new influencers, same deception. They're not just targeting temples or rituals anymore. They're targeting homes, families, you. So here's the question. What doors are open in your life? What habits, objects, or wounds are given access to these things? Because if they can't possess you, they'll settle for influence. And if you don't take authority, they will. You've seen the history. You've heard the truth. These myths weren't just stories. They were warnings, blueprints, evidence of a war that stand when heaven broke and angels fell. We weren't called to bow in fear. We were called to recognize the darkness and expose it. Isaiah 51:17, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. That means even when hell shows up, you still have authority. Your life matters. Your voice still carries weight. Your walk still has power. Don't shrink, don't doubt, and don't back down. You're not here by accident. You were built for this, called for this, and covered for this. Stay prayed up, stay alert, and above all, stay rooted in the Word. Because this battle is not just ancient, it's active. And we don't run, we rise. Until next time, HFC signing out. Peace.